Exposed. The incredible journey of a farm boy who discovered life-changing chocolate joy at 12. In a world where dreams often lay buried in the fields, 12-year-old Samuel Thompson stood at the crossroads of hope and despair. The air in the small Midwestern farming community was thick with the scent of freshly tilled earth, a smell that reminded him of better times. His father, once a pillar of strength and laughter, now battled a severe illness that left their family reeling. With every passing day, their legacy hung by a thread, teetering on the brink of financial ruin. The weight of it all pressed down on Samuel's young shoulders like an anchor, leaving him struggling to breathe. He could feel the pulse of uncertainty in the very air he inhaled. One fateful afternoon, while rummaging through the attic, Samuel stumbled upon a dusty old box. Inside lay a forgotten chocolate recipe, penned in his grandfather's meticulous handwriting. It was a recipe that had once brought joy to neighbors during tough times. As he traced the faded letters with trembling fingers, a spark ignited in his heart. Could this small relic of happiness be the answer to his family's troubles? With a determination only a spirited kid could muster, he decided to give it a shot. With his limited savings clutched tightly in his palms, Samuel ventured into the world of baking. The kitchen of their old farmhouse became his sanctuary, a place where laughter echoed and spilled chocolate marked the floor like confetti. The journey was filled with trial and error, a few burnt batches, some sticky floors, and moments of pure joy as he whipped up creamy chocolate delights. Each failed cupcake fueled his determination. Each sweet success stitched a little happiness into the fabric of their lives. But selling his creations at the local farmer's market was another monster entirely. The thrill of entrepreneurship surged through him as he set up his little stall, adorned with whimsical signs declaring Samuel's sweet treats. As onlookers gathered, some cheering him on while others scoffed, he felt a mix of pride and doubt. The whispers of the wealthier townsfolk cut like knives through the warm summer air, branding him a mere farm boy, relegated to the sidelines of their world because of his origins. Could he rise above their judgment? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he grappled with these feelings of inadequacy, Samuel found himself at a moment of clarity. Entering the annual county fair's baking competition was his chance. This wasn't just about chocolate. It was about his family's legacy, a chance to prove that joy could emerge from hardship. He practiced day and night, fueled by the hope of reconnecting with his father, who was slowly recovering. On the day of the fair, emotions ran high. There, among the colorful booths and the vibrant crowd, Samuel stood with his heart racing. As the judges scrutinized each entry, Samuel overheard their disdainful whispers. Just as despair threatened to consume him, a familiar voice erupted from the audience, calling out in solidarity. Would this be the moment that brought his dreams into focus, or would judgment overshadow his hard-earned victory? Samuel's heart pounded in his chest, teetering on the brink. The air was thick with anticipation, and Samuel was ready to unveil his very soul beneath the weight of chocolate and dreams. As Samuel stood there with a tremor of uncertainty coursing through him, he spotted familiar faces in the crowd. His mother was seated beside his father, who managed to muster a small smile despite his lingering fatigue. The warmth of their presence wrapped around him like a cozy blanket, igniting a flicker of courage deep within. This moment wasn't just his. It was theirs too. When the judges began their tasting, he felt like time had slowed. Each sound of a spoon scraping against the dish echoed in his ears. Samuel's heart raced as flavors danced across his mind: the creamy sweetness of chocolate, the rich undertones of vanilla, and the hint of salt that would pull the sweet and mellow together into something remarkable. He barely could breathe. Then came the moment he had been bracing for: the judges' deliberation. They huddled together, whispering amongst themselves, pitting hope against the gnawing doubt, Samuel glanced at the audience. His neighbors, the townsfolk who had whispered and looked down on him, appeared to be caught up in a conversation. Across the way, a young girl smiled at him, holding a half-eaten chocolate treat. That sight brought a surge of belief. What if his chocolates were connecting people? And then, as if pulled from the shadows, a stillness enveloped the space, and the lead judge stepped forward. Samuel's breath caught in his throat. He clenched his fists, channeling energy into a hope that felt too big for his young heart. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge began with authority. This year's winner for Best Dessert at the county fair is. The silence was unbearable, stretching like a rubber band ready to snap. Samuel Thompson, for his incredible chocolate eclairs. Cheers erupted around him, and in that instant, the world turned into a rush of colors and sound. His mother's tears sparkled in the sunlight. His father's laughter rang like music. Samuel felt buoyant, as though the weight he had carried for so long had been lifted. His triumph wasn't just about baking. It was a testament to resilience, love, and family. Standing there, in front of kind faces now beaming with encouragement, he understood something profound. The stirring mix of despair and joy could create something beautiful. But as he accepted his ribbon, something gnawed at the edges of his happiness. As the crowd celebrated, whispers still floated through the air, murmured with jealousy and disbelief. "Just a farm boy," one woman said, her tone laced with mocking disbelief. Samuel paused momentarily, navigating the sea of joy and doubt threatening to tip him over. Would he forever be boxed in by others' perceptions? The warmth of victory was overshadowed by the chill of judgment. He had conquered one battle, but a bigger war loomed: the fight for love, acceptance, and recognition in a world that often judged a person's worth by their roots. That night, while the fairground lights twinkled like stars against the darkening sky, Samuel found himself reflecting on the day. Perhaps this was just the beginning. But deep down, he knew the real challenge began now. How would he transform this fleeting glory into lasting change for his family, his farm, and himself? He could taste victory, but there were storms ahead. Would he harness the will to keep climbing, or would the shadows of doubt pull him back? As dawn approached, Samuel's resolve deepened. The flicker of hope was now aflame. His incredible journey was far from over. It had only just begun. And tomorrow he had to prepare for the storm that was brewing. The sun broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow over Samuel's small farm. He stepped outside, breathing in the crisp morning air, a blend of fresh earth and the sweet scent of ripening crops. The echoes of the previous night's celebration still buzzed in his chest, but mixed with a new urgency. The ribbon he earned felt heavy now, more like a challenge than a prize. Could he really fulfill the whispered expectations of the townsfolk? Samuel moved towards the barn, where the heart of his family's farm lay. His fingers grazed the aged wood of the door, a reminder of all the moments he and his father spent working side by side. Today, every creak and every beam felt like a promise, an unwritten story waiting for him to write it. He had plans, big plans. Samuel wasn't just going to be known as the best dessert maker anymore. He wanted to change the course of his family's future. But how? The answer began to unfurl in his mind as he gathered eggs from the hens and fed the cows. He could use his victory to draw attention, to share his love for chocolate with more than just the fair attendees. A business, perhaps? A little shop on the main street where everyone could taste his creations. But each thought of ambition was quickly marred by the whispers of doubt. What if he failed? What if his ideas went unnoticed, laughed at like before? He could see their eyes now, the townsfolk who saw him as just a farm boy. He stewed in the painful memories, the moments when he was shunned or dismissed. The darkness crept back in, clawing at his spirit. Just then, a familiar voice broke through his thoughts. "Hey there, champ. Heard you won the big one." It was Julia, the girl he'd seen at the fair. She approached, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I tried your eclairs, you know. They were amazing. My dad wants to know if he can order some for the bake sale next month." Her excitement was infectious. Samuel felt a warmth encompass him, pushing back the clouds of doubt that had settled in his mind. He couldn't help but smile and nod. "I'd love to make some for the bake sale, Julia." "Great. I can help you. We can spread the word. Everyone should know about you." The idea settled in him like a gentle rain after a long drought. Maybe this was his chance. With a surge of inspiration, he made a plan. No longer would he guard his passion as a secret treasure, rejoicing only in quiet triumph. Instead, he would invite the community into his world of chocolate, a community that had once turned their backs. The afternoon sun lingered in the sky, and Samuel was nothing short of relentless. Egg whites whipped into white peaks, cream simmered on the stove, and the chocolate melted into a glossy pool. As he worked, he felt a new rhythm, a beat that pushed him forward. The taste of victory danced on his tongue, and for the first time, he saw a path not just for himself but for his family's legacy. Later, as he delivered an order to Julia's home, her family welcomed him with warmth and laughter. They gathered around the kitchen table, sharing treats and ideas. Samuel was surprised at how easily the conversations flowed, full of encouragement. They hungered for more of his creations, their support bolstering his courage as he left that evening, promises of future orders echoing behind him. A thought crystallized in his mind. Could he transform those next steps into a legacy? And what about the other doubts? Tomorrow would be the day he would step out into the light, showcasing not just his chocolate but who he was. Would the townsfolk embrace his new purpose? Or would he remain just a farm boy in their eyes? The storm was brewing, but this time Samuel smiled. He would ride the waves. His victory was only the beginning. Morning arrived with soft hints of dawn, the sun spilling across the fields and illuminating the vibrant colors of Samuel's farm. As he washed up for the day, his mind raced with possibilities. The kitchen, once a refuge for his solitary pursuits, was now set to become a hub of creativity and community connection. Today, he would unveil his first special offering, a chocolate torte made with rich, local ingredients and a recipe passed down through generations. His heart thrummed with excitement and fear. How could something so sweet be tied to so much trembling uncertainty? As he stirred the batter, his hands trembled slightly with every whisk. He could hear Julia's voice encouraging him, the sparkle in her eyes mingling with his worries. Once the cake was in the oven, the smell began to fill the air, rich and decadent. It enveloped him like a warm blanket, inviting him to dream bigger. Could this scent lure the townsfolk to his door? The thought filled him with a sense of purpose stronger than the doubts trying to creep in. While the cake baked, Samuel tidied the barn and gathered crates to set up a small stall out front. He found an old tablecloth and carefully laid it over a rickety table, wanting every detail to shine. As the sun climbed higher, painting the world in bright hues, he marveled at how different today felt. Around midday, he caught his first glimpse of activity. The postman, a friendly man with a cheerful stride, ambled by, spotting Samuel's preparations. "What have you got cooking, Samuel?" he called with a grin, a jovial twinkle in his eye. "Chocolate cake. I'm setting up a little stand. I hope to sell some. Count me in. Nothing beats a good slice of chocolate." His smile widened, igniting a flicker of confidence within him. Maybe he wasn't just a farm boy after all. Perhaps he was stepping into something greater than he ever imagined. As the hours passed, the news of Samuel's chocolate cake spread. Neighbors, intrigued by the fragrance and Julia's enthusiasm, wandered over one by one. At first, he felt shy, standing behind the table with his hands tucked into his apron. But as they sampled his cake, people's eyes went wide. "Oh, Samuel, this is delightful," one woman exclaimed, savoring each bite. Another man chimed in, "The texture is perfect. How did you do it?" Their praises washed over him, uplifting his spirit. Feeling braver, he stepped around the table, engaging in conversation, sharing stories about his inspirations. The laughter and excitement that filled the air felt electric, and with each compliment, the knot of fear inside him began to unravel. But just as confidence swelled within him, shadows of the past resurfaced, a distant murmur of doubt creeping in. What if this was just a fleeting moment? Would they forget him once the novelty wore off? What about those who mocked his dreams? "Hey, Don't think too hard now, Julia teased gently, breaking his chain of thought. She stood beside him, her presence warm and grounding. Just enjoy. You're really onto something here. More orders came in, and with every new name she wrote down, the weight of his fears dissipated a little more. Samuel realized that this was not just about proving them wrong. It was about proving to himself what he was capable of as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. He looked at the gathered faces, radiant with joy. Samuel felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. This was a community that was slowly finding its way back to him, a family he had longed for. But just as he was beginning to revel in his success, he overheard a couple whispering in the corner. Their words, soft yet sharp, floated through the joyous atmosphere. I wonder how long this will last. Just a phase for him, right? His heart skipped. The air felt heavy. Could he keep this up? With night falling and the day's success overshadowed by worry, he took a deep breath and made a promise to himself. Tomorrow would bring challenges, but he couldn't retreat. He wouldn't. Would he rise to meet the doubts and fears that seemed to shadow his each step? Tomorrow was waiting, and he would have to confront not just the town, but the echoes of his past. And as he locked up for the night, he noticed a flicker from the corner of his eye. A figure loomed in the distance. Who could it be? Samuel squinted against the fading light, the flickering shadows casting eerie shapes across the yard. The figure froze, as if awaiting his reaction, and for a moment, time seemed to stretch thin, taut like a bowstring drawn back. "Who's there?" Samuel called, his voice a mix of assertiveness and unease. As the dark shape moved closer, he recognized the silhouette Jake, his childhood friend. A small smile broke over Samuel's face. But as he noted the uncertainty in Jake's expression, unease crept back in. "Hey Samuel," Jake said, shuffling his feet in the dirt. "I saw your stand. Looks great." "Thanks," Samuel replied, trying to keep his tone light. But he noticed the flicker of hesitation in Jake's words. It hadn't been easy for them in the past. They had walked different paths since high school, and Samuel's choice to stay and farm had drawn a line between them. "I didn't think you'd be doing something like this," Jake continued, his gaze drifting to the remnants of the cake on the table. "I mean baking and all." Samuel's smile faltered a bit. "It's not just baking, Jake. It's what I'm meant to do." Jake took a step closer, looking genuinely perplexed. "I get it. But don't you think it's a little, I don't know, small town? I mean, what's next? A bakery?" The words stung like a bee, and Samuel could feel his defenses rising. Why not? Or are the dreams of a farm boy not worthy of respect? The tension weighed like a heavy blanket, smothering him with frustration and sadness. Jake's face softened, those familiar features worn with time and struggles of his own. "I didn't mean it like that. It's just I know the town. I know how they can be." "Yeah, I heard that earlier too," Samuel admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "But I'm trying to change that." "Good," Jake said, now a bit more earnest. "But I've heard things, Samuel. People still talk. Some are saying that this is just a fling for you, that once the novelty wears off you'll just quit." Samuel felt his heart sink. Did even his best friend believe those whispered doubts? An unexpected sound broke through the tension, a hearty laugh, followed by the chatter of a group that had just arrived, drawn in by the warm aroma that still hovered in the air. Julia waved at him, her eyes shining with encouragement. "Come on. Don't let them get to you," she called. Samuel turned to Jake again, uncertainty rifling through him. I don't know if I can keep this up. Maybe I should just let it go." Jake shook his head. "You have something good here, Samuel. You can't give up before you really start. Prove them wrong by being here, by doing this. Don't let anyone tell you it's too small or not enough." The warmth of Julia's presence and Jake's words echoed through him, mingling with the sense of success and worry. Somewhere deep inside, a fire sparked, pushing back against the uncertainty. "Okay," Samuel said, determination nesting in his voice. "You're right. I want to make this happen." With a renewed sense of purpose, he joined Julia and the new customers, sharing laughs and generous slices of cake. The evening shifted, igniting connections he had long missed. Yet, The flutter of doubt hummed in the background, reminding him of Jacob's words, of the whispers still lingering in the air. Could this truly be the beginning he hoped for? Or was it all just a fleeting adventure? As laughter danced in the night, Samuel felt the weight of his choices settle around him. With each kind word from those around him, he grew bolder, but those lingering doubts were still there, hovering like shadows. The night wore on, laughter turning to affectionate farewells as the townsfolk departed with promises to return. But once the last visitor was gone and the dust settled, the silence felt heavy once more, and then, from the corner of the yard, he heard the unmistakable crunch of footsteps, slow and deliberate. He turned and found himself staring into the darkened eyes of an unfamiliar woman. There was a knowing look on her face, one that sent chills down his spine. "What do you want?" he asked, and he could feel a shiver of anticipation curling in his stomach. "Samuel," she began, her voice low and laced with urgency. "I know what you're trying to do, and what I have to say might change everything you think you know." What could she possibly mean? With those words echoing in his mind, Samuel's heart raced, and he braced for whatever revelations lay ahead. Samuel's heart pounded in his chest as he studied the woman before him. Her piercing gaze held something deep and unfathomable, as if she was peering straight through his facade. "Who are you?" he managed to ask, voice steadier than he felt. "Just someone who understands," she replied, taking a small step forward. "My name is Clara. I've been watching you, Samuel, and I can help." Help with what? His instincts told him to take a step back, but curiosity rooted him in place. Clara inhaled, her expression softening. "The baking, the stand, it's more than just flour and sugar for you. There is something special there, but if you're not careful, you could lose it." "What do you know about me?" he shot back, defensiveness creeping into his tone. "Enough," she said. "You're at a crossroads. I can sense your passion, but I also see the doubts that shadow you. You're meant for something greater, but the town isn't always kind to those who dare to dream." Samuel's mind raced. Was this a blessing or just another voice of doubt? "You mean like Jake?" he asked, his voice dropping. "I don't know who Jake is, but people can be blind to possibilities," she replied softly. "Sometimes it takes an outside perspective to show you what's at stake. Let me tell you a story." Intrigued despite himself, Samuel leaned in slightly. "A story?" "Yes." She nodded, clearly agitated yet purposeful. "I grew up not far from here, just like you. I had a dream of opening my own bakery too, but fear and the voices of others held me back." Samuel's heart ached with recognition, a shared pain that echoed in their words. Her eyes sparkled with memories. "When I finally took that leap, I wasn't just battling my own worries but the whispers of a whole community. I figured they wouldn't understand. But those doubts were my own. The criticisms were just reflections of their fears." "Did it work?" Samuel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Clara smiled, a warm and sincere expression that felt infectious. "It did, but it took every ounce of strength to push through. That leap lit a fire, and I grew to love the art of pastry in ways I never imagined. The trick is to redirect that fear. Channel it into what you create. Every cake you make can tell a story." Her words hung heavy in the night air, wrapping around Samuel like a cloak. "What happened next?" he inquired, hunger for clarity this time overriding his skepticism. "It was tough," she sighed. "The first few months felt like battles. But slowly the community came around. They began to see how my work brought joy, connected people, and celebrated little moments. What began as doubt transformed into pride." Samuel's heart raced, hope igniting a spark within him. Could this be true? Could he really shape that destiny for himself? "You really believe I can?" "I see it in you," Clara urged, stepping closer. "Just remember, passion bends to the will of persistence. If you stand firm, let your cake speak for you, they could be better than you've ever imagined." As she spoke, the glow from the nearby porch light flickered softly, casting their shadows long on the grass. For a moment, the doubts that had plagued him began to fade, replaced by a rush of excitement. "Will you help me?" he asked, uncertainty giving way to a newfound determination. "I will," she said, a confident smile breaking through. "But first, let us confront those fears head-on. Together, we're going to show this town the magic of what you can create." Before he could respond, a sudden rustling in the bushes nearby diverted their attention. Samuel's stomach knotted again as he sensed they weren't alone anymore. "What was that?" he whispered, glancing toward Clara. With a serious expression, she held his gaze. "Whatever it is, it's here because they know you're scared. Ready to face it, Samuel?" The question hung in the air, heavy with consequence. Could he really do this? Just as his mind churned with possibilities, another figure stepped into the light this time. It was Jake, returning with a concerned look on his face. "Samuel, I just had to see if you were all right. Things may not be as they seem." Samuel looked between Clara and Jake, sensing the tension rising once more. What was about to unfold? Would he stand firm, or let the shadows overtake him? "Looks like it's time for the truth, doesn't it?" Clara murmured, and Samuel felt his heart race with the fear of the unknown looming just ahead. Samuel's heart thundered in his chest, caught between Clara's steady reassurance and Jake's unexpected arrival. The crackling tension enveloped them all, a palpable electricity that hinted at something deeper lurking beneath the surface. "Jake, what are you talking about?" Samuel blinked, confusion washing over him. Jake stepped forward, his brows furrowed, glancing nervously between Clara and Samuel. "I've heard some things about the stand, about what people are saying." Clara's expression shifted, hardening, and Samuel could feel her protective energy raising like a wall around them. "And what is it you've heard?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with an undertone of challenge. "Just whispers," Jake said, shaking his head. "Nothing concrete, but it doesn't sound good. People are worried judging what you're trying to do. They think it's a risk." Samuel felt a rush of heat creep up his neck. "They don't know what I'm trying to do. They don't see my vision." The frustration spilled out, raw and unfiltered. The dream had been taking shape in his mind for weeks. A vision of bright colors, rich aromas, and sweet laughter. How could anyone doubt him? "Maybe that's just it," Jake said, his voice softening. "Maybe they don't know because you're not showing them. You've got to share your story, Samuel. Not just your cakes. This town needs to see you who you are, what you care about." Was Jake right? Samuel thought of the few conversations he had while setting up the stand. Uneasy exchanges, quick exchanges. Had he been too focused on perfecting the pastries, letting his fear hide him from those who could support him? "I think Jake's onto something." Clara leaned in, her voice soothing and captivating at the same time. "If you want them to embrace your dream, you have to let them in. You've been too quiet, too reserved." Samuel felt something shift within him, a flutter of realization. But what if they still don't understand? What if they still criticize? It was a truth that tugged at his heart. The fear of rejection, the agony of doubt. "Then you keep pushing forward," Clara replied fiercely. "You keep baking and you keep telling your story, one cake at a time. You'll show them that baking isn't just a hobby. It's your heart poured out in sugar and cream." With every word she spoke, Samuel started to imagine the stand differently. No longer merely a stall filled with pastries, but a vibrant expression of who he was, a connection to community. A story threaded through all the cakes he crafted. Jake seemed to notice, too. "People love a good story, Samuel. They want to cheer for you, but first, they need to understand your journey. If they see you fighting for this, they'll want to fight with you." Samuel felt strength coursing through him. Weight lifted off his chest as visions of his pastries danced in his imagination. Cakes shaped like smiles, cookies designed with laughter, each treat bursting with life. He could feel the heartbeat of the town echoing in his dreams. "All right," he said, determination settling firmly in his chest. "I'll find a way to share my story, and I won't let fear keep me quiet any longer." "Good," Clara said, her smile vibrant and encouraging. "Let us brainstorm how to showcase who you are, who you want to be. Let us make your cakes into something more than just sweets." Before Samuel could respond, a sudden noise shattered the moment. A loud bark echoed behind the bushes, startling him and sending his heart racing again. "What now?" Jake exclaimed, glancing back toward the source of the sound, tension pooling back in the air. "I don't know, but it feels like more than just a disturbance," Samuel replied nervously, feeling a sense of foreboding. "Let us check it out," Clara urged, eyes narrowed with curiosity. With trepidation and a pulse quickening with uncharted potential, they moved toward the sound. What awaited them could either build or break the fragile determination that Samuel felt burgeoning within him. As they approached the bushes, Samuel's breath caught in his throat. What would he find that night? Would they uncover the fears that had haunted him, or perhaps something that could change their lives forever? As Samuel pushed through the last of the tangled branches, the noise from behind the bushes intensified, a low growl joined by quick, frantic scratching. Whatever was hidden there was restless, alive with urgency. Clara stepped up beside him, her eyes wide and searching. "What do you think it is?" she whispered, voice a blend of fear and intrigue. I don't know," Samuel admitted, his pulse racing as he moved cautiously backward, searching for a safe angle to peer through. Jake, more impulsive, took a step closer. "Let us just see," he encouraged, his bravado less convincing than he hoped. Just as Jake bent down to get a clearer view, a small, disheveled dog burst through the underbrush, yapping wildly. It was a scrappy little creature, muddy and thin, with half-closed eyes that seemed more afraid than aggressive. Samuel's heart softened instantly. "Hey, little guy," he murmured, kneeling down. The dog skittered back for a moment, then hesitated, sensing Samuel's gentle tone. "It's okay. We won't hurt you. Looks like someone's pet," Clara said as she crouched beside him. "Poor thing must have gotten lost. We should help." "Help?" Jake scoffed, crossing his arms. "This isn't our problem. We need to focus on the stand, and it is our problem," Clara interrupted, a fire igniting in her eyes. "This hasn't just been about you, Samuel. We're a community. If we can't look out for the ones in need, what does that say about us?" Samuel, keenly aware of Clara's conviction, found himself nodding. The image of his baking stand morphed in his mind yet again, not just a place to sell sweets, but a hub for connection and kindness. Suddenly, he felt the full weight of his purpose. "All right," he said, rising to his feet. "Let us get this little guy sorted out." They approached the dog as a team. Samuel knelt back down, holding out his hands slowly. The dog sniffed, hesitated, then stepped closer. "Hey there, buddy. Where did you come from?" He cooed in a soft voice, trying to mask the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind about the stand and his dreams. As if in answer, the dog barked again, tipping his head in what looked like hope. Clara pulled out her phone, glancing at the screen. "We can look for lost pets nearby. There might be a post or something." While Clara tapped away at the small screen, Samuel kept his focus on the pup. The dog finally let Samuel scratch behind its ears, and a wave of calm washed over him as the creature leaned into his touch, visibly relaxing. "What if we can't find the owner?" Jake asked, arms still crossed but his tone lightening slightly. "Then we find it a new home," Samuel replied without thinking. The answer felt right. The thought of taking care of this little soul ignited warmth in his chest, reminding him of why he wanted to build community through his baking. Sometimes, relationships weren't just about sugar and sweetness. They required kindness and care, too. "There," Clara said, her voice breaking through, full of excitement. "There's a post about a lost dog. Some folks live just a few streets over. They're looking for a pup fitting this description." A smile broke across Samuel's face. "So we'll return him?" "Absolutely. But maybe we can invite them to your stand, too. A chance to give back," Clara suggested, her eyes sparkling with a mix of hope and mischief. Just like that, Samuel's heart filled with determination. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about pulling together. As he stood up, the dog now wagging its tail happily, he felt a surge of clarity. The journey towards his dreams had just begun. "Let's do this. It's just the start of something bigger," Samuel declared, blinking back the unexpected emotions swelling in his chest. One cake, one story, one dog at a time. But just then, a new noise rang out, cutting through the evening air a distant shout, full of urgency and alarm. The three exchanged worried glances. What was happening now? What new challenge awaited them just beyond the bushes? The shout echoed again, clearer this time, a voice filled with panic and urgency that sent chills down Samuel's spine. Clara's eyes darted around, her brow furrowing as she tried to pinpoint the source. "Do you think it's someone in trouble?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jake shrugged, his bravado wavering. "Should we investigate?" Samuel felt a pull inside him, a familiar voice urging him to act. "Yes," he said, locking eyes with Clara. "They couldn't just ignore it. Let us see what's happening." With the dog still wagging its tail between them, they cautiously navigated the remaining underbrush. Each crack of twigs underfoot felt amplified as they approached the clearing. As they pushed through, the scene unfolded before them. An older woman stood at the edge of a small pond, her hands pressed against her chest, her face pale and drawn. Before her, another figure, a young boy, no more than 8, was flailing, struggling to keep his head above the water. "Oh my God!" Clara gasped, rushing forward without thinking. Samuel's heart raced as he took a step closer, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he assessed the situation. "Stay back," the woman cried, her fear palpable. "My son, he fell in." Samuel looked at Jake, whose eyes widened in realization of what they had to do. "We have to help him," Samuel said firmly, despite the gnawing fear clawing at him. "Clara, can you call for help? Get someone to bring a life preserver." Clara nodded, already fumbling with her phone, her fingers trembling with urgency. With determination stealing the air from his lungs, Samuel dashed to the water's edge, stripping off his shoes as he ran. He had always been a good swimmer, yet doubt crept in. What if he couldn't reach the boy in time? What if? But he brushed those thoughts aside. "Hold on. I'm coming," he shouted, his voice breaking above the chaotic splashes with powerful strokes. Samuel plunged into the water, the chill biting at him but drowning under the heat of his resolve. The boy's panicked yelps echoed in his ears. He swam harder, the water dragging at his limbs, every bit of strength focused on reaching that terrified child. Just as he neared, he saw the boy sink. For a moment the world slowed as Samuel lunged forward, reaching out and finally grabbing the small wrist of the faltering child, pulling him toward the surface. "Got you," Samuel gasped, adrenaline surging through him. He kicked hard, desperation blending with determination as they broke through the water's surface. Then, suddenly, the boy's panic turned to sheer terror, and he began thrashing. "Let me go," he screamed, eyes wide with fear. "No, I want to let go," Samuel shouted back, dragging them both toward the shore. "Just hold on." With one last surge of strength, Samuel clawed his way up on the muddy bank, coughing up water. Finally pulling the boy beside him, he collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. "Mom!" the boy cried, eyes locking with the woman who rushed toward them, arms outstretched. With relief flooding in, Samuel watched as the mother scooped up her son, falling to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks as they embraced. He felt a swell of pride lump in his throat. He had done it. He had saved him. Clara rushed beside him, breathless. You were amazing, Samuel. Are you okay?" "Just need air," he replied, still panting, but a smile crept onto his face amidst the chaos. But the boy shifted his gaze back to Samuel, something divine flickering in those bright eyes. "You saved me," he whispered, awe spreading across his small features. Samuel's heart swelled. In that small moment, he realized everything connected his quest to create a community was right here, binding them all through trust and kindness. Suddenly, a commotion brought him back to the present. A group had arrived, mixing their voices with the ones gathered, a wave of curiosity and concern rippling through the air as they circled around. In the distance, the barking dog he initially found wheezed with excitement, finally breaking free from his grip as he stood taller. Samuel felt that familiar emotion spring up again, hope. But then, amidst the voices and the moving crowd, a figure lurked at the edge, shadowy and uncertain. Samuel noticed it, and a chill ran down his spine. Who were they and what did they want? A new layer of tension threaded the air, hinting at more beyond this moment. What was about to unfold next? As the crowd grew, Samuel found himself caught in two worlds. The warmth of gratitude from the parents beamed like sunlight around him, a stark contrast to the ominous energy radiating from the shadowy figure lurking near the edge of the throng. Samuel blinked, trying to push away his concern for the mysterious person. His leaning towards relief outweighed the fear that gnawed at him. He had just saved a life. Clara was still by his side, eyes scanning the crowd with a mix of joy and worry. "We should check on the boy and his mom," she urged gently, nodding towards their emotional reunion. The boy, still shaking, squeezed his mother's hand while she whispered reassurances, the bond between them stronger than ever. Samuel followed Clara towards them, but an urge to know what that figure wanted lessened his steps. With each stride forward, he glanced back at the person cloaked in shadows, trying to discern their intentions. Just then, he noticed that the crowd had shifted, murmurs rising, excitement coursing through the air. "Samuel! Samuel!" Julia's voice rang out, breaking through the buzz as she wove through the guests. Her bright expression shone amidst the chaos, eyes sparkling with admiration. "You saved him. That was incredible." "Thanks," but first Samuel started, still catching his breath. But before he could finish, someone else stepped forward. Jake. He joined the thrumming heart of the crowd, a newfound pride piercing through him. "I told everyone you were more than just a farm boy," he proclaimed, an infectious grin lighting up his face. "You're a hero." Samuel's cheeks flushed, but his smile was genuine. He felt grateful, his previous doubts momentarily dulled by the warmth enveloping him from the community. The barrier that had seemed so insurmountable now appeared breakable, each kind word chipping away at the walls surrounding his heart. The claps and cheers echoed around him, fostering a sense of belonging he had long yearned for. Even the once shadowy figure now stepped into the light, revealing an elderly woman with kind eyes, her worn face marked with wisdom and a slight smile. "That was truly brave," she said, her voice soothing. "You have the spirit of a leader." Samuel felt momentum building. "I've just begun." He felt lighter, energy pulsing through him, exhilaration mixed with purpose. "I've realized that it's not just about my baking. It's about bringing people together. My cakes can tell stories, and every bite should echo love and kindness." His heart soared as he shared this revelation, his community hanging on his every word. The crowd murmured their approval, heads nodding in unison. Each kind face reflected back to him a newfound understanding. With that assurance nesting in his chest, he boldly declared, "I want to start a community bake sale. Let us connect, share, and help each other. Together we can overcome anything." His words ignited applause, tears gleaming in his mother's eyes as she joined the chorus of cheers. Even Jake appeared genuinely moved, nodding in encouragement. Samuel turned back to the boy and his mother, who beamed with gratitude. "Thank you, but you mean more than you know," he said, feeling the weight of their shared experience and tenderness. "Samuel," Clara called suddenly, cutting through the growing excitement, and pointed towards the elderly woman who had emerged from the shadows. "This woman, her name is Doris. She is a baker too. She used to own a bakery in this town many years ago." Samuel's heart raced. "Really?" he asked, his eyes widening with intrigue. Doris stepped forward, her gaze warm. "Yes, dear. Long before you came along, I bake for every occasion, just like you. But life changed, and I had to step away. I see your passion, and I believe I could pass on some of my wisdom. If you truly want to make a difference, let me help." A deep burst of joy surged through him, flooding his heart with gratitude. "I would love that. Together we can create something beautiful for the community." Doris smiled wider, and the crowd began to cheer with renewed spirit. The standing ovation invigorated. Samuel. This was more than a sweet dream. It was the birth of a legacy, a transformation that came with every slice, every shared story, and every act of love. A few minutes later, surrounded by community and affection, Samuel glanced again toward the reflection of the light against the serene pond. His heart swelled. This is just the beginning, he whispered to himself as Clara, Jake, and Julia closed in, sharing warm hugs and laughter. Samuel realized how interconnected they all were, each life and each story threading into the fabric of the town. He had stepped through the storm, emerged steady, embraced by change, acceptance, and joy. Each thrust of doubt faded like shadows as he looked around, realizing he was no longer just a farm boy. He was a beacon, a builder of dreams connecting with others on this incredible journey of chocolate and life. And as he stood there, wrapped in their support, he wondered what other transformations awaited them all, knowing they would rise together, sweeter and stronger than ever before. So, never forget, your own journey might be just beginning too. Dive into your dreams, embrace every moment, and cherish the power of community. Now, let us spread this message. You need to subscribe now to witness more inspiring stories like Samuel's. Hit that like button right away to feed the algorithm. Comment below and tell us how this story made you feel. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.